Hi, everybody. How's it going? This is Danny, and welcome to Danny Travels. In today's video, we're going to talk about why it's so important to get travel insurance and also when you should get travel insurance. So, that's really important as well. Before we go too far, I want you to make sure you subscribe to my channel and that you also like this video. Again, my name is Danny. I'm an educator, I'm an artist, I'm a lot of different things. But one of the things I love to do is travel. So I'm a big travel enthusiast. I've been planning my own travel since about 2012 and only getting better over the years. Recently, about 2, 3 years ago, I started traveling internationally. I've been on cruises, I've stayed at resorts, I've planned my own travel and stayed at hotels. So I'm pretty self sufficient when it comes to figuring things out in the travel sphere. I have a lot to learn. However, I want to make sure I educate those of you who may be new to travel. So, like I stated earlier in this video, we're going to talk about purchasing travel insurance. Okay. This is an interesting topic because I've heard some different answers, and I've even known people who just don't purchase travel insurance. And it's really interesting to me because the other thing that I want to talk about is my own horror story while traveling. My horror story. So I'm gonna get to my horror story later. I might intertwine it when I am talking about why it's important, of course. But yeah, I'm gonna talk to you about my traveling horror story. But so you might be asking, okay, well, is travel insurance important to get? Two answers to that right now, at least. Yes and no. Okay. So we'll talk about cases where you don't really want to or you don't need to purchase travel insurance. I'll say it that way. So if you are traveling domestically, if you're flying domestically, um, there to me is really no need to purchase travel insurance. So let's just talk about some of the things that travel insurance covers first. Let's say if you lose your bag, um, travel insurance can reimburse you up to so many thousands of dollars, right? So it's really like travel insurance is tiered. So depending on the company that you go with, you might have, you might be insured for $1,500 per luggage or per your bag or something like that. So I'm not gonna get into the logistics. I encourage you guys, if you're seeking out travel insurance, make sure that you go to the different websites and look at what they offer. I am actually going to pull up different travel insurance sites. Some I have used before, some I have not, just to give you an idea of what's out there. Okay, but when you're flying domestically, you really don't need to purchase travel insurance, especially if it's a short trip. Now, for those of you who might want to add a little insurance on there, that's fine. But if you're flying, of course, because we're talking about, flying to get to different destinations, what I suggest you do is just purchase the protection when you purchase your flight, right? So every airline has it where you get to the end of the checkout and you can actually add on travel protection to your trip. Okay. So, of course, that's kind of a, I won't say a sticky situation, but that's up for debate as well. Because if you really get a good premium flight, some of your, like, let's say your uh, flight gets canceled, right? Because that's one of the reasons why you would, want to purchase travel insurance in case of your flight getting canceled or your bag being lost or there's a delay. If your flight gets canceled on a a ticket where you purchased, you got reimbursement, right? Then mm, sometimes you don't need protection. But if you're purchasing a flight, it's like the want to get away at the last minute and it's non-refundable and all of that, then purchasing travel protection and flight protection, I should say, flight protection in that case is important. But overall, as far as purchasing travel insurance, where you're insuring your bags, insuring if you get sick or not, and your flight and delays and all of that, typically you don't need to do that domestically. Okay, so again, there are flight insurance packages that you can get if you really want to go that route. But of course, sometimes in your ticket, you are already insured. So, you can, I guess, use discretion as to whether you want to add on that flight protection. Now, when should you purchase travel insurance? You should purchase travel insurance when you are flying internationally. Okay? Now, not a lot of people know this. So, like, this is important, especially if you're not, like, when you book with a travel agent, they're going to give you some information where you can get your travel protection, as a, aside from booking with them. Or recently with my current travel agent, she was able to purchase our travel insurance as well. So, but if you're planning on your own, you may not know that you should get travel insurance. So I'm going to go over some reasons why it's important to get travel insurance. And I'll use my own story to tell you about that, my horror story, right? So, and then I'm going to talk to you about like different companies that you could actually check out and, compare prices and everything. So, a couple years ago, 2023, I went on a group trip with a travel company that I will not name. Okay. And upon returning to the airport to come, and I was in Turks and Caicos, the flight there was fine. But when we were headed home, and it was like maybe 10 to 15 of us, it was all women. And when we were at the airport ready to go home, we kept saying that our flight was getting delayed. And if you've ever been to Turks and Caicos, you know how small of an airport it is. So it's like all these people packed into this airport waiting, and it was just bad. We were packed in there like some sardines. It was hot. People were frustrated. And it was crazy because like all the airlines were canceling the flights on this day. I don't even remember why this was happening. I do not believe it was the weather. It was just some issue. I think what it was is they were having issues with crew not being available or something like that. So they delayed our flights multiple times. So we were just sitting in there like frustrated. And of course, the gate agents, they can only really disclose so much because sometimes they don't know everything and they can't really let out certain pieces of information too early, right? I get that. But it was to the point where they were delaying us, and we were just getting frustrated. I know at a certain point in time, I walked up there and I was like, okay, our trip's going to is this trip going to get canceled? Like, please let us know. But of course, they didn't. And eventually, the flight ended up getting canceled. And it's like multiple flights. So, I forgot where. I think my connection was to Atlanta, then to Chicago, because I'm from the Chicago area. And then, some women, I think, were going to like the East Coast. And so it was like all of our flights were getting canceled, as well as other carriers. So we had to end up actually staying a few nights there. It was like, again, Turks and Caicos doesn't have a lot of flights to go in and out. And whatever issue they were having, whatever issues they were having, it wasn't going to be resolved until a few days later. So the resort that we were staying at, We did not go back there. But the airline, I believe they put us up in a hotel for, it wasn't even the entire stay. It was maybe like a night or something crazy. And then they gave us like vouchers. So now, one thing I will say is that the hotel resort they put us in was actually nicer than the hotel. It was nicer than the hotel that we were in, um, for the group trip. The resort was nicer. Now, we were kind of investigating, trying to figure out. It was very pricey. And then I don't think it was an all inclusive either. So that was cool because it was really nice. But I think I ended up staying in extra. Gosh, this was. I wish I could remember. I should have did my research on myself before I filmed this. But it was a few days, so there were some of us who were able to fly out the next day. Um, just depending on where they were actually headed. Some of us like was like, I'm just canceling this off. I had to actually, I think I canceled my initial flight because it was just crazy, and then I ended up going with another airline. I won't say which airline that we were that we were flying, but I ended up just like I don't want to work with them anymore. I just want to, book a different way. So it was crazy. That was like very stressful. And then it was like a lot of people were like, "Oh, you get to be stranded on an island. Bummer." But like when we were already there for like a week, and when you're there extra and you know that like you've already paid this money, like we were putting down payments on this trip, and now I have to come out of pocket some more to stay like 3 more days. We were all just ready to go. So luckily, I purchased travel insurance, and the even the airline was kind of going back and forth with us, like giving us the runaround. But eventually, like I filed my claim, and I was able to get my, what I paid initially when I booked the package. I was able to get reimbursed for that, but it took a long time. But I was able to work with the insurance company, and I got I think some of my expenses I got reimbursed, but not all of them. So there are like contingencies, of course, um, but there's a caveat to that because it's something really, really, really important about travel insurance that I want to go over as well with you, and when you should get it. So um, yeah, like I was thankful that I got travel insurance. I want to say I was reimbursed most of what I ended up spending. So like we had to go come out of pocket for like meals and stuff at a certain point because the airline only gave us so many vouchers, which was crazy. They really should have got it for us the entire time, but I understand because some of us were booking our own flights and not really going with their airline. But yeah, that was crazy. So thank God I purchased travel insurance. Now, here's the caveat. You So we talked about when you should get travel insurance, and of course when you are flying internationally. But the caveat is the fact that if you don't purchase your insurance within a certain amount of days after booking the first thing you need to book for your trip, then some things you cannot, like some things you don't qualify to get reimbursed for. So most travel companies, they require you to purchase your travel insurance. I think it's within 14 days of purchasing the first thing you're getting for that trip, right? So let's say you're planning your own trip and you get your flight first. You purchase your flight. You need to get your travel insurance within 14 days of that, within 14 days of purchasing that ticket. Okay. So even if you don't have like your hotel, you haven't figured out your hotel, you haven't booked your hotel, and other things, you kind of want to have a ballpark idea about how much you want to spend. Maybe you can go on Expedia and look up prices. And then when you purchase your, like, I'm on Alliance Travel right now. I think it's Alliance or Allianz. Somebody correct me. But I'm on Alliance right now. And I believe I used Alliance when I went to Turks and Caicos. So, like, you'll have to put in, okay, how much am I going to spend on my hotel? So, you want to have a ballpark idea of how much that would be, because, what you're going to pay depends on how much your hotel is, how much your flight is, how much this is, how much that is. So, um, yeah, definitely get travel insurance. It does come in handy. I'm just blessed that the times that I didn't have travel insurance, there were no issues. And I look back on that like, oh my God. So, there were a couple times I went out of the country and I did not have travel insurance. I'll talk about the first time because I was a newbie to like international travel and I was planning it myself. And while I was on the trip, someone in our like tour group said, "Oh yeah, I got travel insurance," and I just like quiet, and I was like, oh. I had purchased like flight protection, but not travel insurance. So if something happens, like a ridiculous delay, you want to make sure that you are covered, and also that you get your insurance within that. I think it's 14 days. Like, really, I wouldn't play when I'm booking. I would just make sure I have enough for travel insurance after I book whatever flight or hotel that I'm getting. So, like, do it the next day, do it the same day, do it within 5 days, but definitely do it within that window. Um, so, Allianz Travel is one. I think AIG. I think I might be using AIG for the next one. And like, don't just go, take my word. Like, really look and compare. I want to say Allianz because they didn't give me. Well, I think it was my fault because I didn't purchase the insurance within the amount of time. But I think if I had got the insurance within that window, that I would have been okay. There's AIG, travel insurance companies. Let's see. Travel Guard is another one. No, Travel Guard is AIG, I believe. Yep. Travel Guard is AIG. AAA has travel insurance. There's another one. And there are even travel, I'm sorry, there are insurance companies that even have really good like cruise insurance. And I'm going on a cruise soon, so I went with the company that had a really good package for the cruise. Nationwide, Nationwide has a travel, I'm sorry, an insurance policy for travel. So look around, make sure that you do that. And again, the biggest thing is you want to make sure you purchase your insurance within a certain amount of days, after you purchase the very first thing for that trip. So your let's say you book through a travel agent and they didn't offer to purchase or get your insurance with you, which they would just add on to your bill. Then you want to make sure that you purchase your insurance immediately after, because that will be the first thing. Like, once you put down your deposit with them, that's the first payment you're making. So yeah, like, that would have been a horror film if I had not purchased travel insurance. So I definitely encourage you. There was another time where I did. The first time I didn't was when I was in Guatemala. The second time, it wasn't like, I went to Canada, and my friend and I were kind of like, oh, we don't need it. But even then, something could have happened. So, and we would have been just like coming out of our pocket. So I definitely encourage you, whenever you're going somewhere internationally, to make sure that you get travel insurance, make sure that you purchase within that window that they give you. And also just compare and see what's best for you, and just figure out um, figure out if you're willing to pay a certain amount. I cover yourself, okay? Cover yourself, because when you are in situations like that, it's really, really hard to work with like the hotel and work with the airline. So definitely cover yourself. I hope I didn't miss anything. I'm kind of doing this video on the fly. I'm sure insurance is another, I'm sure insurance is a topic that I'll revisit at some point in the future. But I did want to pop up here and talk about this because it's a question I get. Um, Not a lot, but it's definitely a question I get, to get insurance or not to get insurance. So yeah, before you leave, make sure that you like this video and also subscribe to my channel and check out other videos from the channel as well. I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day. Bye.